Oh, you're doing like, oh, like.
We were quiet, but we were, clinking.
Doing little stuff like that.
Yeah. Anyways.
Let's get this right on the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nashville Artist Podcast. I'm Jordan, and today Michelle Stone is here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Where are you from?
So I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. Born and raised. I grew up on Trinity Lane. Back in the day when, it was more pure. You could find a hooker on the side of the corner and you couldn't go out after 8 p.m. Nowadays there's Pilates studios and you can buy a coffee and it's very gentrified. But yeah, I grew up in the heart of Nashville till I was like about 12 and then moved to a small town called Laverne, which if you've been to Laverne, you could literally blink and miss it. So it's like a tiny little town outside of Nashville, but...
You've stayed here basically your whole life?
Yeah, so I've moved around. I've lived in Ohio. Don't go to Ohio. I'm just kidding. If you live in Ohio, I feel for you. I've lived in North Carolina. I lived in Florida for a little bit. After I turned 18, I moved around to different states and kind of dabbled a little bit, and then I came back. But for the most part, I guess you could say I've been here pretty much my whole life, yeah.
Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have a half brother who I don't really talk to him that much. I have 2 stepsisters as well, but I'm not really close to any of them, I would say, but I do have a half-blood brother. What
was it like growing up? Were you into music and stuff when you were younger, or was that a later progression, like singing and whatnot?
Yeah, I did a lot of Gretchen Wilson covers when I was a little kid, a cappella. There was this little barbecue joint that I don't know if it's still open now in Laverne, but I would go there and do a cappella Gretchen Wilson. Redneck Woman, if you ever heard that. It's, I ain't no redneck woman, I'm just a high-class bro. I used to do a lot of those, but I was always into music of all sorts. I used to be really hardcore into Tupac, Biggie, 3 Days Grace, either heavy rock or heavy rap was kind of my genre. Now I'm into pretty much everything, but I think I've always been artistic. I wrote my first screenplay when I was 12, and from there I've just been writing, and I've always written songs. I've written probably at this point I would say over 200 songs that I've written, and most of those the world will probably never see. But
why not?
Well, one, I had a songbook because I was really into the Cheetah Girls when I was younger.
You're cheated up.
Cheetah's still my print of choice, but I had this little cheetah print notebook that I wrote so many songs, but that was actually lost. And by lost, I had an ex burn it out of protest against me. But that was lost to the world. We'll never see any of those songs. I don't remember half of them. But just a lot of them, I don't know. Some of them are personal. I have a song about my mom that I don't know if I could ever sing it around people because I don't know if I'd be able to even keep myself composed enough to sing it. But yeah, I'm writing a lot of new songs now because I'm kind of becoming a different person and evolving every day. And the more I evolve and become who I am now, the Michelle that I am at this point, it's very different songs with different meanings, more so about life and spirituality and things like that, whereas back in the day I was kind of writing childish songs or songs that were really, really depressing. I look back on some of the songs that I wrote and I was like, dude, I was sad. I was so sad, suicidal songs that just I don't think the world needs more of this kind of music, honestly. It was really depressing.
So you said you wrote your first screenplay at 12. What was it about?
Oh God, I'm glad you asked, Jordan, because my first screenplay was called Jaguar Trinity. And it's so crazy because I look back on it and I'm like, wow, I was channeling so much information I didn't even realize. Jaguar Trinity was about this girl who she was from another planet, and she was from a planet where they had made it illegal to have more kids, and her parents ended up having her, and the leader of the world found out that they had her, and he ended up sending her into outer space, blasting her out thinking she was going to die. Well, she ends up getting caught in Earth's atmosphere and getting shot down. And when she gets shot down, she gets found by this guy named Saturn, who runs Saturn Enterprises. And Saturn Enterprises is this firm that to the world, they're known as the peacemakers. They go around shaking hands, making peace with different countries. But in reality, it's an assassination firm. And they're sending out people to kill people, and the world just doesn't know that it's happening. Well, Saturn finds this girl. He lies to her, tells her, your parents died in a fire and I saved you. And he doesn't tell her she's from another planet, any of this. And he makes her his top assassin. And she becomes his number one assassin. In the story, she's out to find this weapon that's being made in this other country that it's supposedly like, Nikola Tesla, his death ray. Have you heard of?
The death ray? No, but I know that Nikola Tesla's.
Well, and at this time as a kid, mind you, I didn't know any of this. But now the more I learn in the future, I'm like, how did I know this as a kid without even knowing this? But she's after this death ray that, Nikola Tesla, and you look up, Nikola had made a blueprint for this death ray that was said that it could basically destroy countries. And they say they never made it, but, don't trust the man. But it's a death ray that she's after, and Jaguar doesn't know that the people she's killing aren't bad. She thinks that everything Saturn is doing has a purpose. She later finds out in the story that Saturn has been using her as a tool to basically get to the top, and she loses her shit and she ends up taking down Saturn Enterprises, and it's a crazy intricate story.
Yeah, I was about to say that took some turns I did not expect.
Yeah, it's a story of redemption and insane, but I lost that entire screenplay because when I was 18 or no, maybe 19, came back to Nashville and stayed with my mom again, and they made me pay rent. They wanted me to pay rent, and at the time I had just came back from North Carolina. I didn't really have any money, and so I was like, man, what can I do to get money to pay rent? And I had my computer. Well, my computer at that time was only worth $100 or so bucks, but I remember, and this is probably one of the biggest, I wouldn't say regrets because I don't want to regret, but one of the biggest things if I could look back on that I would change, that I remember the guy I sold it to. I'll never forget this. We were sitting in the pickup truck and he has the computer and he's like, hey, I'm going to just basically reset this whole computer and, is there anything on it that you want to keep? And Jaguar Trinity, the whole story was on there. And I remember looking at him, and in my mind, it was like, yeah, tell him to get the Jaguar Trinity off. But I was just like, no, there's nothing on there I want to keep. And he took it and erased it. So that whole story was erased. So I've then started trying to rewrite it, but I'll never be able to get back all the stuff that I put on that story. It was insane.
Wow, how many pages was it?
Had to be hundreds.
Wow.
Had to be hundreds.
Did you write it on Celtics or what did you use?
It was Word.
Oh, okay.
Just like Word or Notepad. Maybe not even Notepad. It had to be Word. But yeah, insane.
Have you written any screenplays lately?
Oh yeah, I'm working on one right now. It's a movie. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's called Desirulu. I have a few different ones that I'm dabbling in. I have a show that I just actually pitched called The Bachelor and the Peacock. It's a kind of a BoJack Horseman style show, and I pitched that to a screenplay competition. I've been working on that, all the 12 episodes of the first season. And then I have my movie Desirulu, that it's 2 parts. I've written a huge portion on both of those, and then a few other stories that I've been writing parts of the screenplay too. So I've got a few different things I'm dabbling in, but Desirulu and the series that I have are the 2 that I've really put the most work into.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what got you into screenwriting?
Honestly, I just always liked telling stories. I've always had a huge imagination, and I love telling stories, and I love just making up random things. I mean, I was really big into Harry Potter and X-Men and Charmed and Marvel and comics, and I've always been into that stuff. So being into it, I just always have the ability to do the same thing that they do, which is tell stories. Like I used to RPG, which I don't know if you know what that is. It's like
role play game.
Yeah, it's like going out in the woods and it's like LARPing, but okay. not putting costumes on. Like RPG is kind of like a lesser version of LARPing. LARPing is very they put costumes on and they go out in the woods, which I would do that too.
Fun.
But yeah, it's fun. But I just always loved doing it. And Jaguar Trinity, when I first wrote that just was something that I was just thinking of a story, and I was 12-year-old Michelle was just I'm going for it. And then ever since, I have dreams. That's really where all of it comes from. Like when I met one of my comic characters, because I have a couple different comic characters. One of them her name is Dark Matter, Dimitri, and I met her in my dream. So Dark Matter, her ability is she can create black holes. So she can create dark matter and create black holes. The scene where she finds out where she has her powers, she was basically a foster kid who was adopted kid, and she's in her house. It's her birthday. Well, her stepmom's like a pill addict, or her foster mom's like a pill addict. And I'm dreaming all this, and her foster mom's like, I wish we never adopted you. We took you in. You've ruined our lives. And she like slaps her. And I'm like, it's almost like I'm watching this in my dream happen. And that's when she like, the dark matter starts coming out of her hands, and she's like, what? And she creates a black hole that starts eating the house. And in my dream, I remember she turns and she looks me straight in the eye. And I'm like, and then she like runs off. And then I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I have to write about this girl, dark matter. She's like, da-da. And so like a lot of it comes to me when I'm dreaming. And then I just like wake up and I'm like, I have to write about all of this. And then it's almost like it's a story that's already happened in another world, and it's just feeding through me, and it just comes to me, and I just start writing it down.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
What do you use Celtics now, or what do you use to write your screenplays?
Honestly, just like Google Docs.
Oh, okay. So you don't. It's not like a program that you.
Well, I use Writer Duet. I guess if you want to. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of that, but Writer Duet. It basically has all of the, because I'm a self-taught screenplay writer. Like the way I wrote things before was a novel version, and I recently decided to start putting it into a screenplay format. And Writer Duet, it gives you like character, paraphrase. I can't pronounce that word, but it's basically like when they make the action in the parentheses.
Paraphrase?
It's like the parentheses that it's where they're making the action, right?
Okay.
Oh, looks at him like with disdain or something like that. But Writer Duet will put it all in there, and so Writer Duet's helped me a lot understanding how to do screenplay, but I still don't know camera angles or any of that stuff. I'm still learning that, but that I feel like is like kind of, it's not the most important part, because when you make a movie and you finally get into it, you're going to have producers that are going to be able to tell you like, this is where the camera goes and this is how it zooms in and all that,
right.
All that stuff.
In high school, I used to write screenplays, but I used Celtics, and it was.
Oh, really? What is that?
It's a free screenwriting software you can get online.
Ooh.
And it does everything for you, like place, position, like you said, it shows their action, sets up like character, dialogue, everything, so you just fill everything in.
Can you do more than one screenplay at a time? Because on Writer Duet, you can do like 1 or 2 screenplays at a time.
Oh yeah, you can do tons of screenplays.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to check that out, because Writer Duet gives you like 2. And then it's like, you have to, which I bought it for a while. It's like, you have to buy this service to open up more screenplays. Like, so you have to do like 1-2 tab, and if you want to open up more, you have to like pay like $9 or something.
Really? Yeah, Celtics, you can make as many as you want.
Huh, I need to look into that.
Yeah.
I think you do.
That's why, like, whenever I meet someone who's like really into screenwriting, I'm like, what do you use, or directing or whatever. Because I'm always interested in what software they use.
Yeah. Writer Duet's really good. But I need to use that if it's free, because Writer Duet kind of puts the
hamper on.
Yeah, being able to do like multiple, because then you have to like delete the screenplay that you have on there and save it onto a doc somewhere, and then. Oh, I see. You know what I mean? Because it won't let you. Yeah.
It can't hold several. So, what would you say like your writing style is for? Are you more like a thriller? Like what kind of genre?
Genre? Definitely sci-fi fantasy. Sci-fi fantasy, comic book. I do like comedy, because my series, Bachelor and the Peacock, is comedy. But to be honest, I really started writing comedy because as a female screenwriter, it's often very hard to get yourself taken seriously, because it's a very male-dominated world. So when you come in with like, I have this super cool fantasy movie, people are like, oh, look at this chick. She thinks she can fucking write a movie or whatever. But coming in with Bachelor and the Peacock, it is so funny. And there's so many like hilarious parts in it that I really wrote comedy, because I don't know if you've heard of Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
The director of Get Out.
I've seen that, and what is it?
This Is Us. Or not Us. This Is Us. Us, yeah. That movie fucked me up for a week.
That was an intense movie.
That movie fucked me up. So did Get Out. I watched Get Out on acid, and that was that was rough. That was not a good idea. And my friend came in when we were tripping, and he was like, are you watching Get Out right now? And I was just like, yeah. And he was just like, you're crazy. And then 2 minutes later, he comes in and sits down. He was like, I'm going to do it too, though. And we're like watching it like, oh my God. But Jordan Peele, he almost did the same thing, because, he's an African-American man being a screenplay writer. And it's almost the same thing. Even though he's a man, it's a small market, because it's mainly like a white male-dominated world right now. I mean, that's just a fact. he started with comedy, so he was very funny. And when people started being like, oh, wow, this guy can write comedy really well, he was like, well, now that you got your attention, bam, here's Get Out, and here's like all these intense, crazy movies that no one could even imagine that someone could write. Like, I mean, if you watch Get Out, you know, you're like, that is just an insane concept of a movie, and it's so good. But almost the same thing with my comedy is I wrote Bachelor in the Peacock, and I hope when people see that, if it ever makes it to Hulu or anything, which, you know, knock on wood that it will, people will see that and they'll be like, oh, wow, this is really good writing. I'm like, oh, yeah, you like that? Well, bam! Here's like my actual stuff, that my serious sci-fi fantasy movies, because to me, sci-fi fantasy, like, it has no boundary, you know, like, when it comes to horror or whatever else, I mean, there's, of course, you can go as far as you want with anything, but with sci-fi fantasy and fantasy movies, you can literally make up anything, because there's no cap of fantasy. It's a fantasy, right? It's like in your mind. So it can be literally anything. So, yeah, that I would say that's pretty much my genre to answer your question without...
Like sci-fi horror, I really like Alien.
Oh, yeah, like Predator or...
Alien.
Like kind of what would you say your favorite?
The movie Alien.
Oh, the movie, like the movie Alien.
Yeah, Alien.
I've never seen that.
Oh, really?
No.
It's Ridley Scott.
Really?
Have you ever seen Blade Runner?
Yes. Oh, God, Blade Runner.
That's Ridley Scott.
Man.
Yeah, you should see Alien.
Is that the same one in Predator versus Alien? Is that the Alien from the Alien movie? Oh, okay, so that's...
It kind of got bastardized after James Cameron took it over and made Aliens, and it was like an action movie instead of a horror. Like, the first one's a horror movie, it's written or directed by Ridley Scott, and it has like a lot of really intense artwork in the scenery. Like, I can't remember the artist who was obsessed with like take anatomies of bodies and then mixing them with machinery and
like Terminator type stuff.
Yeah. It's really interesting for all that.
You know, they're doing like, which people should care about this, but they don't, because people don't care about a lot of things. But they're making human animal hybrids. Yeah, they the story I was reading where they're breeding a monkey with a human.
I saw that.
They said it scared them so much that they killed it. Like, it was so freaky. But yeah, they're trying to combine animal-human hybrids. And I'm just like, why? Why do we need that? Why do we need that? Yeah. That's not what we need.
What's gonna
happen? You're just gonna have like a... Then it's just gonna... Can you imagine starting a war?
Person?
What?
Yeah, and then you see this person.
And then it's gonna start... I mean, right now, we can't even get over...
And they're like, everyone judges me. It's like, well, yeah, dude, you're a fucking animal.
You're fucking human. Freaking pig, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can only imagine it would start, like, because humans aren't even ready for other races, yet less aliens, yet less human-animal hybrids. Like, I can only imagine if they start a human-animal hybrid race, how there would be, like, a division of, like, pig people, and, like, it would be, like, a whole, like, we don't hang out with the pig human, and then, you know what I mean?
Dude,
like,
yeah. Have you ever seen Bright?
No, what's that?
It's an incredible movie. It's got, I think, Will Smith's in it. But it's basically different races: aliens, humans, elves, fairies.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it's like they're all in LA. And so there's different...
Oh, it's with Will Smith. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, I watched that once. That's a good movie.
Yeah,
that's a really good movie. There was a war, though, wasn't it? They all were, like, fighting.
Well, it was, like, just, like, a race kind of thing. Like, the orcs didn't hang out with the elves. Were the top of the... It was like, elves, humans, then fairies, then, like, orcs.
I know exactly. I need to watch that movie again, but that's exactly how it would be.
Yeah, and so like orcs and humans weren't really hanging out. I don't know, it was weird. It reminded me of animal-human hybrids. That would create
just so much. It doesn't even need to be something that needs to be doing, but I was watching that, and the government's actually funding this research, and so it's like, why are we funding? I don't know, but it's insane.
Yeah, good lord.
This golden snitch right here that you have on the table is...
I know, the golden snitch.
It's getting me through my mind right now. It's doing things to me.
Oh yeah? Oh nice, I see your little Harry Potter tab.
Yeah, huge Harry Potter. That's actually what I used to RPG in the woods with my best friend, which he'll never talk about it. But he's like, Michelle, why do you tell people we did that? I'm like, dude, like back in the day, being a nerd was lame, but the older we get, people realize like nerds are where it's at.
Yeah.
You know, like we're the ones that are going to be ruling the world.
Right.
Like we read in your book in there is like, that's so true because like it's crazy how things have changed. But yeah, I remember literally being out in the woods and we actually even had Harry Potter wands. I still have my Snape wand. I remember being like, he said Expelliarmus to me and he goes, and I'd throw my wand and it got lost in the woods and we looked for it for like 2 hours. Just like, I remember just the craziest stuff, and our imagination was so strong when we were kids. Like, I remember actually seeing Hogwarts, being like, wow, and I actually could visualize Hogwarts. Just insane.
Do you feel like you've lost that as you've gotten older?
It's definitely went down as much, because I mean, I think a lot of people as adults, we lose, just society kind of beats it out of us. You know, we lose the ability to see things that, because I mean, there's so much around that's happening around us that we can't see anyways because of the naked eye. But I definitely believe having a society like this, you know, the one that's like work, make money, pay bills, get a family, that kind of society has definitely taken away our ability to use our imagination, because like, you know, people think imagination's just for kids. So I definitely believe it's went away, but I don't think it's went away fully. For me, I feel blessed because I still believe that I have a bigger imagination than most people, because I still do see like Luigi jumping from building to building. Like when I was younger in a car, I remember driving and I could see like Luigi jumping from building to building, and I still see Luigi sometimes. I still see like little fairies flying around, and if I really focus, I can imagine things, but it's definitely not as strong as it used to be. Because I remember going out into the woods probably like a year ago, and we went to that exact same spot. I was like, you remember Hogwarts was here? And we both tried to look, and I was like, I don't see it anymore. And it just...
Well, were you dressed up when you used to go there?
And no, we didn't ever dressed up. No.
Yeah.
But we would pretend we were. We would pretend. Like, we would pretend everything. Like, there was even a pond, and if you watch Harry Potter, you know about it. There's this water creature that it will pretend like it's a person drowning, and so you go try to save it, and then when you try to save it, it's like a evil creature that takes you to the bottom and will like suffocate you and like eat you.
Jeez.
It's a Harry Potter character. Yeah, it's intense. J.K. Rowling. But I remember literally looking in that pond and seeing people being like, help me, and we'd be walking by and we were like, don't help him, it's not what you think it is. And yeah, but now we look back and I'm like, I don't see anybody drowning anymore. So it's definitely not as strong as it was. But
this was here in Nashville?
It's actually in Laverne, in that little Blink city I mentioned. It's a big wooded area that surprisingly the government hasn't put buildings on yet. It's just a huge empty, goes probably for, God, I would say it's a couple football field lengths, but there's huge
wooded area.
Yeah, it's like it has trees, and then there's like a open area you can travel. It's right by Percy Priest. It's huge. You have to know where to enter. It's by like a suburban neighborhood, and we used to enter and just go in and literally just walk it for miles. And people go back there with four-wheelers, and you'll see a deer back there, and yeah, it's really nice.
You can go back there with four-wheelers?
I mean, people do. I see four-wheeler tracks when we go back there, but we haven't walked there in a while. But that used to be the spot to RPG, because nobody comes back there. You don't have to worry about people like, you know, bothering you.
Right.
So
where did you went to high school here in Nashville, right?
No, I went to high school in Laverne, actually. Laverne High. They said they were making a documentary. Laverne was a very violent school.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know do you know about McGavick or any of those places?
Jeremy went to McGavick.
Oh, did he? Well, McGavick's a lot worse, but Laverne was right up there with it. Like, I saw a fight pretty much 3 times a day in school, and a lot of gang, and I say gang with quotations because it's not like real gangs, it's like what people think is a gang. Because I mean, if you've been to LA and New York, you know what like real gangs are like those are very serious, but we'll call them little Laverne gangs. A lot of fights because of that stuff there, but they were actually going to make a documentary about Laverne High. From what I heard, I don't know if it ever happened, but yeah, I went to Laverne High.
What was the population there? Was it a big school?
No, I mean, it was pretty average. I would say like 4,000 kids, maybe.
Damn.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
In the high school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was a pretty big school. It's a pretty big school. And they added onto it and built onto it. But we had the Wolverines, which was our football team. That was like Smyrna's rival, and like there was a whole I was in band, so I like was a band geek. But I mean, it wasn't terrible. And I definitely wouldn't. I'm glad that I'm not going there anymore. Right. I'm not like I miss high school days, because I definitely wasn't like popular or anything. I I was the girl that was going around talking about how the man was out to get you and you need to watch what you're doing and eat healthier. And like, I was also a cafeteria kid. I was friends with pretty much anybody. You know, I was friends with jocks, the nerds, the emo kids, the band kids. I just kind of was on my own wave. It's really small.
So everyone there basically just went to that high school?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You even had people that, I think, it really depended by the area code, because it goes like, you'll come out of Nashville, and then there's Antioch, and then there's Laverne, and then there's Smyrna, and then there's Murfreesboro. And I mean, when I do it like that, I mean, there's one road that travels through. So when you get out of Nashville, you'll hit Antioch, and then if you keep traveling down Murfreesboro Road, you'll hit Laverne, which is literally like, blink. You go through, and then there's Smyrna. You keep going, and then there's Murfreesboro.
Okay, so it's just outside of Nashville.
Mm-hmm. It's literally right outside of it.
Wow. Okay.
I moved there when I was 12, so.
What did you play in band?
Snare.
Oh yeah, you were telling me that earlier.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you also play like quads and bass drum, or?
No, I would do like some drum set during cafeteria, but I only did really snare. And I did snare because when I came in, the first day they sat down. You know how they assign the instruments. If you're in band, they'll sit down and everybody will get assigned their instruments. Well, I had asthma, which I still have asthma, and so I was like, there's no way I can blow on an air instrument. Like, I can't even muster enough breath. And then there was guitar, and I was like, I'm definitely not going to play guitar. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was just like being in band and playing guitar, I was like, I don't know. And so snare was the only other one. And I was just like, all right, I'll give snare a try. And I thought it was the best one.
Awesome.
It was nice being in a drum line.
How long did you play for?
God, I'd say like all of 3 years.
So into high school?
Yeah, it was only in high school. I joined in like sophomore year, and then I like played throughout it. Yeah.
You went to all the games?
Not all of them. A lot of them I was probably smoking weed underneath the bleachers, honestly, but no, I wasn't big on the drum line, but I did go to a few of them. But a lot of it, like pretty much near junior year, I was kind of honestly fed up with school because I didn't I just wasn't subscribing to the high school because it was just high school. It was very high school. And I felt like I was like, fuck this place, you know? And so I would just smoke a lot of weed, skip classes, and walk around in jogging pants and be like, fuck you. Like, so I kind of didn't participate as much as I honestly look back. And I'm like, I kind of wish I would have done drumline more, but yeah, I was kind of just over the whole atmosphere of high school. And by senior year, I was like, this place.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to live and die. Because it was almost kind of, it's kind of like a small, and not that Laverne's a small town, but when you get into that thing, it almost felt like I was like, if I don't get out of here, I'm going to be stuck here. Because at that point in senior year, a lot of the girls that were going to my school were pregnant or had kids. You know, it was almost like, I'm going to die in this city if I don't get out. And so by senior year, I was like, I got to get the fuck out of this city. Like, because I didn't have a good childhood, you know, so it wasn't like I was like at home, like loving my childhood. I was pretty much like, I need to go, I need to get out, I need to travel. So, yeah, it was very...
So right after high school, you moved into Nashville?
Right after high school, I moved out of the state.
Oh, okay.
I moved to Ohio, actually, and I lived up there for a little bit. And then I realized that there was nothing for me in Ohio. And then I moved to North Carolina, Winston-Salem. And that place was good for a while, but Winston-Salem was almost like, had the same effect on me that Laverne had. Like, I felt like I was going nowhere there, and I would just stay there and party and live my life here or there. That's when, after living there for like a year and a half, I came back to Nashville, and I've pretty much been here ever since.
Okay.
And I mean, Nashville, even though it being my hometown, it's like a double-edged sword because there's so much happening here, and it's not one of those places where you can feel trapped or feel like you're gonna, because there's so many opportunities, and it's only getting better. I mean, there's so many cool people that are moving here, and you know, so
yeah, it's like 1 out of every 4 people here is like an artist, musician, or something.
Yeah, and they're implants, or what do you call that?
Yeah, transplants.
Yeah. I met some of the coolest people that I've ever met that just moved here.
Yeah.
Like Dustin being one of them. He talked about moving here from Indiana. There's a lot of people here from Indiana, actually.
I know, I've noticed that. As I got to know Dustin and Scotty, they introduced me to more people from Indiana.
Many more. There's a lot of good people that come from out of there. I think that's why that song, Them Indiana Boys on the Indiana Nights.
The what song?
The song where it's like, Them Indiana Boys on them Indiana Nights.
Oh,
Remember that song? She grew up tall and she grew up right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, everyone I've known from the Midwest is usually pretty, like, gung-ho. I don't really meet, like, I guess because it's like flat and nothing much is going on.
In Indiana? Yeah.
Or in the Midwest. Like,
in the Midwest in general.
Not in the major cities, but maybe there too. But like, people are just like, have this like, I don't want to say chip on their shoulder, but they have this like, I'm going to go do this thing. You know what I mean? The determination, the drive, like it's like anger fuels them. Yeah,
like, or wanting the same kind of way I felt, wanting to just get out.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get trapped and stay somewhere.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I'm from Chattanooga, but I lived there basically like 24 years.
Oh, really? Chattanooga's pretty cool. They have the aquarium.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. I guess when you're from there, it gets, very small very fast,
Yeah, you're kind of like... I mean, that's how everyone probably feels about their hometown, too.
Yeah. But it does take a special person to move out of their comfort zone, try something new,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially if this is just like we talked about earlier, the society we have now where it's kind of like the American dream, like get a job, get a family. And for a lot of people growing up, I knew that was like what they wanted to do. Like they're like, I would love to like start a family. And I'm just like, I'm like, that is literally not what I want to do at all.
No.
I was like, I don't even want to, like at one point, I didn't even know if I wanted to have kids, because I had all the girls around me being like planning their weddings when they were younger. And me, as they're planning their weddings, I'm planning my world domination takeover. I'm like, I'll start with Tennessee, then I'll go here and take over Asia, and they're just like, and I'm gonna pay, and I'm like, I don't want to get married or have kids. That sounds like death. I mean, now I consider maybe in my 30s possibly if I get comfortable enough. But yeah, definitely that whole idea of settling down terrified me. It was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to live in this town forever. I don't want to have a family. That sounds terrible.
Right, all the responsibility, like, basically once you start a family, it's not about you anymore. It's not about...
No, it's about everybody else.
Yeah, everybody else.
I'm not saying that you can't, have a family and make your dreams come true, but for most of my friends or people that I grew up with, they're all just living in houses, raising families.
Right.
Working
to support the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean...
I'd rather struggle and be broke, honestly.
Well, I'm just like, I'm never bored, so it's like...
I know, and you don't have to worry.
I don't need someone, I don't feel like I need to take on the responsibility to give myself meaning. I don't need to fill that role just yet in order to feel satisfied with my life right now.
No, can you imagine, God, I think about...
I don't even have any pets.
I was about to say, I have a dog and a cat, and even that, I'm like, I haven't been able to do a lot of traveling like I wanted to because I have my pets. So I'm like, God, I can only imagine if I had a freaking baby. I don't think I'd be able to do anything that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and then you start losing sleep. Everyone that I know that has babies, you see their eyes... the beginning of the baby or whatever, and then when the baby's 4 or 3 or 4, you see crazy crow's feet just because of lack of sleep.
They're like, I'm fine, as they're a fire around them.
Lack of sleep, and just because they're getting woken up all the time from the baby and having to put it back to sleep, and then going to work with no sleep.
Oh, and you don't have time. My dog, she's almost 10, and she literally, if you know Coco, she would love my dog. She is very clingy. So when I'm walking around, she's right behind me, constant, and I'm just like, God, I can only imagine if you were a child and you could speak English. And you were like, Mommy, I'd be like, please kill me right now.
Asking you every question about, but why?
Yeah, thankfully she can't talk, and it's easy I could be like, Coco, can you go into another room while I have some private time with myself or something, or something like that, and it's okay. But a kid, I couldn't be like, get the out of here. I'd have to be like, what is it, baby? Because you can scar a child if you yell at them like that. But a dog, it's easy to be like, okay, or go put a fence up so she just has to stay in there.
Right.
And I'm like, God, I could not imagine having a child
mentally
following me around.
Kind of draining. I mean, just having to be extremely patient,
and know that you could mess them up. I mean, with a kid, it's because I had a terrible childhood. I mean, I turned out who I am now. I think it made me who I am, but I would never want to have a kid, and you have to be very careful with what you say to them, because people are like, oh, they're kids, they won't remember. I remembered.
Yeah.
I remembered everything that was said to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful of not to one little thing, and you're like, I could have just scarred them for life.
Their fragile eggshell mind.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a horror movie to me.
So, like on your Instagram, you're like screenwriter, producer, author, poet, artist, muse. What kind of singer, or like in music, or would you say you play? Or I remember you sang the other night. What kind of music was that?
Yeah, well, so when I first started really finding my voice, because it's really hard to find your voice as a singer. It's like a trial to get there. With me, you know, I was actually in this band when I was 17 called Skies Above Testimony, but it was a metal band, and I was a screamer. And because I used to love, like, screamo music, I don't, like, listen to it as much now, but I used to be really into it. Then I was still finding it, and as I started writing songs, I was like, you know, I think I want to be a rock singer. Like, I think a lot of my stuff is very rock vibe. Like, I could have a very, you know, like, kind of Evanescence kind of vibe. But when I really sang one of my songs for the first time, and I covered this song called Fever by Peggy Lee, I realized, I was like, I think I'm like a jazz singer. Like, I think I'm more of like a jazzy kind of singer. So a lot of my stuff that I've been working on and singing, which is very, very new, I've just started really finding my voice in this past year, thanks to everyone around me, all my friends who are like encouraging me and, you know, pushing me. I've kind of gotten to a jazzy rock kind of vibe, honestly. Awesome. Like, yeah, and it's crazy because when you put that perspective on, it changes all the stuff you've written. So I look back at the songs I've written and I was like, this now sounds like really different. Like, this doesn't sound like I thought it was going to sound. So I'd probably say like a jazzy rock kind of vibe.
Okay. How long have you been singing?
I mean, I've been singing forever. Like I told you, I did the covers when I was a young kid and stuff. I've always been singing, but in front of people, probably for a few months.
Okay.
I normally would just sing to myself or in front of the shower. Or, you know, I've sung on a couple people's tracks, but it was people I've dated. And at that point, I had to get really comfortable with them to be able to sing in front of them, because it's surprising. Like, I have such an outgoing personality when I'm being social and, you know, when I'm on my podcast and all that stuff, and I'm able to just talk. But it's really like a performer. What's the word? A performer. It's like a performer front I put on, because that's not who I am in reality. You know, a lot of people are like, oh my God, Michelle, you're so fearless. Like, you could talk to anybody. I'm like, that's something I forced myself to do, because if I didn't, I would be who I am when I'm singing, which is like, I have stage fright, you know, I'm like very nervous. Which I'm getting better at not getting nervous, but definitely I have to channel my performer ego and start feeling something in order to put myself out there like that. So yeah, I've been singing alone for a while, but I've only recently started just doing it in front of people and getting more comfortable. And the performance I had at Cafe Coco, which was the song that I just wrote, The Holly Tree, which is incredibly spiritual song. I stepped out of my comfort zone more than ever there, because I was with the full band and there were a lot of people. My friend, she made a good point. She was like, you know, once you get the personality behind your song, it won't take away from the song. Because when you're very stage fright and afraid, it's like you can be a super confident person and have really crappy songs. And in the same breath, you can be a very self-conscious person but have incredible songs. Mm-hmm. So like confidence is like a really big part of making your music sound great, you know. And I'm still definitely finding my footing in that, in ability to sing in front of people. But I sing all the time by myself and with certain people that I'm comfortable with, and, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
And so you started Music City Movement, or?
So I founded that with my partner, Jenna. We both started that because we met. Jenna moved here from Cali, and me and her met through the music scene. Obviously, I was already, you know, here, living here from here. And at this time, I was bartending on Broadway. I bartended on Broadway probably for 2 years until I finally stopped, because that's fucking insane. Bartending on Broadway is just an experience within itself. It's absolutely insane. You make good money, but you will lose hair, because it's wild. And morally, it's very compromising, because, you know, I don't like watching drunk women be thrown out on the street when they're absolutely intoxicated. And on Broadway, they don't really, it's about keeping the show going. So if I've seen someone overdose and die in a bathroom, music keeps playing, they take them out and back, everything keeps going. And for me, I'm like, this is fucked up. This is like, you're throwing out drunk people at the street, like someone just died. I'm like, can we at least stop the music? And they're like, nope, we can't, we have to keep going. I'm like, that's insane. But that was a trial in itself. I met her and we started working in the music scene together, because she had already been working in music and doing artist management and stuff like that. And through working through the scene together, we really realized that we didn't like the way the scene was being run as much. And so we decided we wanted to start our own thing. And that's when we formed Music City Movement together. So. Okay,
so like working on Broadway definitely opened your eyes to, it inspired you to make, or?
I would say it definitely helped me understand that, because it wasn't just Broadway that's being run, but a lot of people in the industry use artists, and they don't see them as people as much as like bank.
It's like a commodity.
It's a commodity. It's a moneymaker. You know, you have these big pop stars who on the outside it looks like they're super happy. And they're a product.
Controlled.
They're being controlled. They're being used as a bank to make money, and they're just one big ATM. You know, alien time machine. But they're one big ATM, and that's a lot in here. That's how artists are seen. You know, and especially on Broadway. I mean, a lot of people coming in, they just want to hear the music and they want to have fun. And I've heard people be like, well, why are the artists walking around asking for tips? Like, that's ridiculous. I had a woman be like, that's so ridiculous that she's walking around like, well, you know, they're playing like 8-hour gigs and they're tired. They're getting paid like $12 an hour. And some of them are playing at 10 a.m. in the morning where no one's even there. And they're also being asked to cover these songs, and people think it's just like doing a dance covering a song. It's not easy to cover a song, to sing, to play the instruments. I mean, just me even trying to play piano while I'm singing, I'm like, this is really hard to keep up with. And so a lot of people don't realize all the work it takes, all the effort, all the time it takes to really get sets together. And especially with a lot of bookers and music promoters here, you find that they expect them just to work, and they don't appreciate it or take time to understand how much work it is to do that. And that these people not only are working hard to make music, but they have day jobs. You know, a lot of musicians I know, they're going and working 12-hour days, and then after they're done, they're going out and they're performing, trying to make their dreams come true. And so I saw a lot of that on Broadway, especially with, you know, people going on Broadway hoping like, well, if I play here enough, I might get, you know, recognized, which not saying that you won't, but it was more common back in the day for that to happen. Now you don't have music recruiters going out on Broadway trying to find people, you know.
It's all online.
Yeah, it's online. It's a different market now. So when you're playing on Broadway, you're really just playing to make money, you know, or playing to get practice, or playing to, you know, meet other musicians. You're not going to get discovered. And even then, I like to tell people, I'm like, trust me, you don't want to get discovered
at a bar on Broadway.
At a bar, and also you don't want to become the next Selena Gomez, you know, because it's not what you think it is. You're not going to be the person you think. When you get that high up, you're being controlled.
Yeah.
You're being told what to do. You're an ATM for people. It's not what you think it is. I'm like, you're better off becoming an independent musician, controlling your music, doing it on your own, instead of expecting someone to discover you so you can get big and famous. Because it's not what you think it is. Get signed. And, you know, I want a manager. Yeah, and I know some really, really high-end musicians that have been in really big, famous bands. And I've sat and talked with them, and they were like, it's not what you think it is. It's not the world that you think it is. So I definitely believe that starting Music City Movement, and Jenna shares the same, you know, beliefs with me. We've had these talks and stuff, like being able to cultivate an environment that's more authentic not only pays the artists, allows them to get money for what they're doing, and not just like bullshit money, but like actual money. But also cultivates a community of people that believe in music, not just they're doing music because they're like, I want to get famous. You know, I mean, you see all these artists there are a lot of people that are making music, and I'm not saying they don't love it, but some people make it in terms where like, man, I hope I'm going to get found. I hope I'm going to get famous.
Right.
And it's like, you should just be making music for the love of it. Yeah, like just make music just to make it, because at the end of the day, you're putting your creation out into the world and you're making it a better place with your music. And for me, and I know everyone else, we've all heard songs that have changed our life and made us a completely different person. So I really believe that should be the intention you put behind everything, is how things manifest in the world. So if your intention is like, well, I'm just making this music because I hope I get famous and discovered, what have you been doing?
Well, yeah, and it's like if it doesn't really speak from your heart and soul, if it does get discovered, it's not really you. So
no,
you're going to feel like a shadow of yourself or ghost of yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, radio music is a big one. Like, people are like, well, I want to make a song that's on the radio. And I'm like, do you though? Because, like, do you want to be a chain smoker? Is that like it's not what you think it is, you know? And I've had people that I know that they've had their music, bands that have had their music. I mean, I know a band that they wrote one of the most famous songs of all time. And after a while being played on the radio, you know, I talked to the guitarist. He was like, you just don't care after a while. He was like, oh, big one. It's on the radio again. Huge. Because no one fucking listens to the radio anyways. Like, I listen to Spotify.
Right.
I don't ever listen to the radio. Unless it's 102.9 The Buzz. What up, Andy? But no, yeah. But definitely Music City Movement was a way to bring authenticity back into the music industry and make people realize, like, hey, we can create a world of music where it's not just about the small number of people who get famous and make it. Everyone's a creator, everyone's making music, so eventually we can have a world where there's not just certain people that are high up there, everyone's just making music, you know. I like to have a little quote that I'm like, we went from worshiping demigods to Demi Lovato, and it's just kind of like a saying to be like, you know, we see certain people as like giant idols, but we don't realize that it's nothing that we think it is. It's all a facade. It's all a smoke show. And the more you learn about that stuff, you realize that you're like, this is not what you guys think it is. It's not what it seems.
Right.
It's just it's like a makeup on a pig. You know, it's still a pig.
It's like what Jim Carrey said. He's like, I wish everyone could be rich and famous so they could see that it's not what you think, or that it's all out. It's the greatest thing in the world. Because I mean, if you listen to Billie Eilish in interviews, they're like, what is the worst thing about fame? Like, well, I can't go outside ever. I won't be able to go outside for the rest of my life. I won't be able to like go anywhere for the rest of my life. I mean, privacy is out of the question for the rest of my life. And
that's a gross thing, right?
Like,
it's a disgusting thing. And
you leave the house and people are like, wow, there she is.
And they think they know you, and everyone thinks, they're like, oh, that's so cool, though. It's like, you think it's cool.
With stuff that, yeah, it's like what...
You think the mafia is cool, right? And then you join the mafia and you're like, oh, fuck, this is not what I thought it, like, this is not cool at all. You know, like, I wrote a thing, actually, a blog on my website called, I forgot the title, but it's about celebrity culture.
Oh, yeah.
And how we have cultivated this celebrity culture and this mindset of almost stalking people, and it's legal. And you see these people going out and they're like, shh, what's your relationship life? And it's like, dude, that is fucking insane.
Right.
And if we took away that, it would be just a world of musicians making music.
Well, yeah, and there's those musicians who like are incognito. They make it like
Daft Punk
or like the Gorillaz, kind of. You see them, but you don't you recognize the cartoon images. You know what I mean? Or Buckethead.
Yeah, and I think that's better.
They keep their anonymity. It's like when Marilyn Monroe said, she was like, being famous is like caviar. It's great, but not for every meal. So what would you say is something you've learned living in Nashville?
God, that everybody's equal, because, you know, kind of bouncing off all the things we said, especially and I haven't lived in LA, and I know there's great, incredible people there, but there is an environment there that certain people are better than others, and if you have this or that, you're better. Well, here in Nashville, it doesn't matter who you are, what your name is, who you've worked with, what you do, you're the same as anybody else. And that's something that has proven itself, and that I've definitely learned more and more. And I see people learning more and more. And I think it's something that humbles people. And it's definitely something that a lot of more people should embody, you know, because I have people, especially being where I'm at now in the music industry, having a company and doing interviews. I've had people come up and be like, hey, yeah, you know, I was producing music with Miley Cyrus, and I'm like, all right, that's cool, but like, are you a good person? Are you nice to people? Do you open doors? Do you talk to kids? Like, you know, I have a quote about my brand on my Instagram. It's on one of my pictures, you know, and I talk about how your brand isn't the movies you make. It's not the songs you write and the music you make, the pictures you take. Your brand is you. You know, it's how you treat other people and how you treat animals. It's the person you are when no one's around to watch. And I think that's something that's very important, to always be a good person. And despite your achievements or what you're doing, like, at the end of the day, none of that matters. What matters is the kind of person you are and how you treat people and the kind of energy. When you enter a room, are people like, oh God, it's this person? Or are people like, oh my God, yeah. Like, when you leave, are you leaving a good impression on people? Are you nice to servers? You know, do you clean up after yourself? Like, what kind of person are you? So here in Nashville, I think it's more prevalent than ever that it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. It matters what kind of person person you are. I think that's definitely something I've learned.
Yeah, I would just add that I would say, like, no one even cares about how much money you have. It's all about, like, your artistic merit here. Like, what you bring to the table. How can you, like, someone who's really good at guitar and maybe not wealthier at all will probably do better, be more popular than someone who's not very good at guitar but just super wealthy
or has a great house.
Yeah, because it's like no one, like, it's kind of like the Lost Boys here, kind of like
I love that movie.
Or just like, well, I mean, like Hook, like, you know, Hook, like Robin Williams.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I don't know, they are kind of all equal, but you're judged by your artistic merit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people too moving here, they see that, because I've seen people get knocked down a peg. They come here and they move here and they're like, well, I have a lot of money, I have a nice house, da-da-da, and people are like,
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
We don't give a shit.
We don't give a fuck about the stuff you have.
Went to Vanderbilt.
Like, are you nice? Can you hang out with people in a room? Like,
you're easy to be around.
Yeah, like, I mean, Dustin's is a good point of that, going to the castle, you know, you have all sorts of successful people going there and doing stuff, and it's like you get there and it's like, all right, well, can you have a conversation? Can you talk? And people, like, you'll be able to notice who just moved here and who has been here for a while, because the people that just moved here are like, well, I have this, and this, and this, and this, and everybody's just like, okay, I mean, that's cool, I guess.
You can sense the insecurity.
Yeah, you
like,
can sense
here to
like,
prove.
Well, you mean my house and my money is not appealing to you?
Yeah.
Like, no.
I gotta prove something right away. Let them know I'm hot shit.
Yeah, let them know I'm important. And everyone's just like, dude, nobody cares.
Yeah, no.
No one cares about that stuff. Everyone here's got something to offer somebody, but none of that matters.
Yeah, and most people are pretty quiet about their special abilities. So if you come out barking and everything, and then someone's like, you see how good they are and they haven't said anything, it makes the person who's barking just feel that much worse.
So much. Yeah, I was talking to somebody about that the other day. I was like, a lot of the people who are doing a lot of great things and some of the most important people here, you'll never know who they are.
They'll speak with their actions.
Yeah, they'll speak with their actions. They won't talk a lot. They won't go in a room and boast. They're the people that you're not going to know. They're the ones sitting in the back that are just sitting there that no one knows who they are.
Because they've been there and done that.
Yeah, and they've realized none of that stuff matters.
It doesn't work either.
You know, no. And I've especially doing Music City Movement, you know, it's even made me more so just not want to talk, because you have so many people that know you are, and I'm like, if you know, you know. If you don't, like, who cares? You know, like, I'm more focused on being a good person and making connections than I am showing my dick.
Trying to elevate my...
Yeah, and, like, being a cool kid.
Look at me, watch me. But, because then, if you get to that point where you're like, look at me, watch me, or like, I'm so cool, I'm so dominant, or whatever, then whenever you get into the presence of other people, you're going to feel inferior because you've made it out that you're this huge thing. So it'll be really hard for you to relate to anyone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's this saying that if you're the smartest person in the room, that you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
You should be around people that you consider more talented, smarter. You know, you shouldn't want to be the biggest dog in the room, because it's just like an ego thing.
Well, it's also like having the biggest house on the street. You wouldn't want that, because then you're the only thing that brings value to the street. You want other people to, like, have the better house and you have the lesser house.
I mean, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, I love that book.
Yeah, he talks about talking to people and how you want to let people just talk about themselves and boost themselves. You don't want to be that person that's just talking about yourself, because that not only makes people feel better, but it helps you make better connections with people.
Exactly, and you learn them better.
Yeah.
And then you learn, okay, well, if I say this, they'll like that. And they won't like it if I say, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And it gives them a chance to express themselves, because people love to talk about themselves.
Yeah, what is it? In Dale Carnegie says, hearty approbation and, like, compliments. I can't remember the quote from it, but basically, you know, let people talk about themselves, ask questions, then give them feedback. And be honest with it. Be honest.
Yeah, be honestly curious.
Right.
Don't just be doing it just to be able to, like, you know, that are just like, they're very humble and they just wrote books, you know, they just wrote books to give people their other advice of how they think that they should be. And I think it's incredible to, like, the Four Agreements, Miguel Ruiz, like, man, is so humble. And, like, the way that he talks about the Four Agreements, you're just like, this is so true.
And he's giving the world away. I mean,
he's giving the world away in 4 fucking agreements. Yeah. Literally, it blew my mind. Like, some of the stuff, the way he put it.
Don't take it personally.
Don't be impeccable with your, don't take it personally is a big one.
It's probably, one of the biggest ones.
Because it's so easy to take it personal.
Right.
You know, it's so easy to take everything personal. But what was it? Be impeccable with your word. Don't take things personal. Always say what you mean. And then the fourth one,
which is being impeccable with your word.
Yeah, always. Yeah, basically, he talks about how when you talk, like less is more.
Also, and it's like don't be so like don't say something if you don't mean it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Exactly, and that's big too because your word is.
I meet so many people and like.
You gotta be careful with what you say.
Well, it's like sometimes they'll laugh, but it's a sarcastic laugh. That's an expression you just made, but it's not something you really mean. And it's like you're now starting to live a duality because you're laughing at this thing, even though you don't find it funny, you're doing it as a form of expression. So it means you're secretly lying to yourself because you're allowing yourself to manifest something that you don't really feel. And so you're like choosing with each situation, I'm going to tell the truth in this situation, but I'm going to lie in this situation. And since you're doing that, you're splitting your personality in half, basically.
And you're already putting, like, people don't forget things that you say. So when you put things in people's mind, people will remember.
Well, yeah, it's like people don't always remember what you said to them, but they remember how you made them feel.
Exactly, how you made them feel. Yeah, it's a very good way to put it. And they always, and sometimes it's hard to get out of that. Like, I was recently just talking to someone about this because I decided to stop drinking. And, you know, I'm divided because I'm surrounded by people. Of course, I have tons of supportive people who are like, yeah, I don't give a fuck if you drink or not. It doesn't matter to me. But then there are also people that are like, what? Michelle, you're the party god. Like, you're always drinking, having fun. It's like, well, what if I just want to be a different person?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, what if I want to change and I don't want to stay the same?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's okay to do, but in saying that, when you're speaking, you got to be careful because sometimes people don't accept that you can change because they don't think it's possible.
It's almost like you never tell someone why you're doing something, because if you tell someone why you're doing something, then you're opening and inviting them to have an opinion about what it is that you're doing. And that doesn't matter to begin with, so there's no point in telling what you're doing.
No.
Or why you're doing it.
No, it's just best just to do it.
Yeah, or just like I don't know, like people are like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It's like you can have your own reasons, but you don't have to tell anybody why. And it's like, if you want me to tell you why, it's going to take several hours.
Yeah, and then also, what if you want to change your reasons?
Yeah, or what if
like,
you're
what?
not interested at the end of the day when I tell you? Then I've wasted my time, so what does it matter anyways?
Yeah, and it's almost like with my hair. Like, I was going to dye my hair full strawberry blonde. Since it's so long, it was going to take 3 times. And I went for the second time. And then on the third time, she had to, like, wait a week to do it. And for me, in that week, by the end of the week, I was like, well, I've changed my mind now. I don't want my hair blonde anymore. And it's just like I'm constantly changing my mind. Like, I'm constantly having new revelations, especially with all the books I read. I mean, I'm constantly reading books. And you know just as much as I, like, reading a book can change your life.
Yeah.
So after one book, you're like, well, now I'm a completely different person.
What book are you reading right now?
The Celestian Prophecy.
Oh, yeah, you were telling me.
Yeah, that book it's about the 9 insights of life and spirituality. And when I tell you that book will change the entire way that you see the world, it's just blown me away. I mean, it's definitely changed a lot of the ways that I think, and I'm already a different person because of that book, and I'm not even finished with it yet.
Wow, so, I'll have to read it.
There's a movie too, apparently. Really? I'm going to wait to watch the movie till after I'm done with the book. But,
right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So going back to advice, what is some advice you'd give to someone who wants to move here and pursue art?
Don't get caught up in the pursuit. You know, it's kind of like that movie, The Pursuit of Happiness. Sometimes being so adamant on pursuing something means that you'll never actually get there. It's just going to be like running on a hamster wheel. So, like, don't get caught up in the pursuit. Go with the intention to build a better you, not to go with the intention to be famous, go with the intention to do this, that. Just go with the intention to be a better person, to make friendships, to make connections. And also, don't get caught up on being someone that you're not. Like, always be the most authentic version of yourself. And, you know, this is something I wish I could have told younger me, too, because I was such a weirdo when I was younger. And, I mean, I'm still that person, but when I was younger, I would try to, like, I'd put on a silk shirt. I remember in high school, I put on this silk shirt and wore a bunch of makeup and tried to be like some of the popular girls because I was such a weirdo that none of the girls wanted to really be friends with me. Like, I was more adamant to be friends with guys because the girls were like, this girl's fucking strange. Like, she's really weird. And I tried to be someone I wasn't. And then the older I got, my personality and who I am is why people want to be around me. They're like, dude, I fucking love who you are. Like, you're such a weirdo. That's so cool. And I didn't realize that at that time, now the older I got, I've fallen into being my most authentic self and realized that's my superpower, you know, because trying to be like other people is going to get you nowhere. The world doesn't need more of other people. They need more of you. So if you're moving to Nashville, don't try to be the next Carrie Underwood. Don't try to be the next whatever the hell it is that you you've seen come out of Nashville. Just come in, be yourself, be authentic, make connections, and the rest of it's just going to work out for you. Honestly, that's what I can tell
putting
people.
faith in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember when I first moved here, I was so hell-bent on, I gotta form a band, I gotta make a band. And my friend was like, dude, it'll happen, just let it happen. Don't worry don't try to force anything, don't be like, I need to jam with every person I meet. And it did. It happened, I joined a band, we played some shows and stuff. Then you meet a lot of people, and it's like now you have more people to jam with. It just comes natural. It
comes natural. It's like I think it was either Jet Li or Bruce Lee, which you can quote me on this, but don't quote me on this. But it's one of them that said it. But it said, "Be like water."
Yeah, Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee. So be like water. Water doesn't force it. You know, you just gotta.
Takes the shape of the cup if it's in the cup. Takes the shape of a box if it's in a box, or whatever.
Yeah, just be.
Fluid.
And when you try to force it, it doesn't work out.
It's just like, oh, I've done this and I've done that. And it's like you're trying to like let everyone know how serious you are when it's like just be and people will see. You don't have to like
be and people will see.
Yeah, you don't have to be like, oh, I've had dinner with this person or I met this person.
Or I know a lot of people are like, a lot of my friends, they'll be like, oh my god, that person has like 100,000 followers. And I'm like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Who gives? Because Instagram, first of all, Instagram is not real.
Yeah, no, it's
Let's go and say that right now. Like, Instagram is very fake. There's very few people are who they say they are on there, and most people are on the facade. No one talks about the bad times on there. Everyone has a prepared answer. Nobody is themselves on there. For the most part, nobody. Like, I try to make an effort to be exactly who I say I am, but even then, you know, people aren't seeing all the stuff that's happening in my life on the daily. And so people get so caught up with, oh my god, they have 100,000 followers and 200,000 and da-da, and it's like, dude,
that doesn't mean
none of that
rich.
shit matters.
It doesn't mean they're happy.
It doesn't mean if you're verified. It doesn't matter if you're verified and you have 100 million. Think about some of the biggest people, like the Kardashians, for example, that have millions of followers. Those are some of the fakest people in the world. And reality TV is not reality. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think people get so caught up in that. And I'm like, dude, you guys forget that we're on this spinning ball in the middle of outer space. And really none of us know what the fuck is going on. Honestly, none of us even really know where we came from. And we're all so caught up in being like, I'm this person. I'm just like, bro, like, do we even know what we're doing here? Like, this is just like, what's even going on?
We are a blip in time.
We're a blip in time. And sometimes
our time's going to be gone faster than it was here.
Yeah, and I think about that, which sometimes can be because like you said earlier, thinking about it too much can really fuck you up. Sometimes I look at things and I'll be at shows and I'll just start thinking on the grander scale and it'll all zoom out. And then I just zoom out to Earth and I'm like, bro, we're just literally on this spinning ball in the middle of outer space. Like, what are we even all doing right now?
It's like nothing matters.
It's like nothing matters. So like not getting caught up in that will definitely help you out, I think.
Yeah, it's a good piece of advice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, last question. What is something absurd you love doing?
Something absurd I love doing? I don't know if it's absurd necessarily, but it might be, I mean, it could be absurd. I like playing with swords. Ooh. Because I recall a past life where I was a great samurai. I see him often in meditation. I can remember his face and I can see myself on the hill. I actually killed myself. I have a memory of
Harikari.
The Harikari of stabbing myself, but this is all natural. I've never ever done any practice or anything, but I will often do like sword play and sword work, and I mean, you'll catch me out in a field just playing with a fucking sword. And
do you have like a lot of swords?
I have one katana, but I have a lot of little like smaller knives.
Sick.
Yeah, I would love to collect more, but the thing is I don't like to start collecting because I believe when you start collecting, it's like an obsession. Yeah. And it goes from just like, oh, this is cool to I must have more.
Yeah, it becomes a number.
More materials.
Numbers never end.
No, and you're a slave to your materials. After a while, you're just like, I got all my stuff here.
There's a great quote that says, the more stuff you have, the more you're a slave to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've actually been telling people lately, I want to get rid of a lot of my stuff because I was like, I don't want to.
Me too, yeah.
I don't want to have, because really, like for a while when I was moving, I just moved into my new place recently, and for 2 weeks all of my stuff was at one place, all my stuff was at another, and I was just really living out of a suitcase at my friend's house. And I had an epiphany. I was like, I don't even need most of the shit that I have. It was like most of it, like, I mean, I love my books. That's something I'd like to keep with my books, my art. But even then, at the end of the day, I'm like, do I even need any of this stuff?
It's like the more stuff you have, the more psychic weight is in your mind.
Yeah, and the more you care about it.
You have to keep up with it, or just even being in a room with a lot of stuff, weighs on you mentally because it's more stuff to process, you know?
Oh yeah, and we live in, I mean, there was a book that I actually quoted and put on my Instagram. It was about how people want to be happy and they sabotage their own happiness, and in order to try to facilitate happiness, they start getting materials. And so now we have this material world where you have people flashing chains and their shoes and their purses, and they have closets of things, and it's like, is this what you think makes you happy? Because it doesn't make you happy. At the end of the day, you can only find happiness within yourself.
Right.
I mean, all those gurus and all those Buddhist books, they might be cliche, but they're right. Like, happiness is found within yourself.
I mean, I'm stuck inside my body, you're stuck inside yours. The only way to make our lives better is to, like, make it more fun to be inside yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to read, and it's like a video game. Like, we're each characters, and it's like you want to make your character the most badass it can be. Like, you know, speechcraft, fucking fighting, fucking
like on,
working out.
Oblivion.
Intellect. You want to be really smart. You want to be charming, funny, blah, blah, blah. These are all skills.
Not material. It's kind of like the thing you said with Jim Carrey, get everybody to be famous, because you have these people living in mansions.
Oh, yeah.
With tons of stuff, and they are so depressed.
So unhappy. See, like, a lot of people are asking the wrong question. They're asking, what will I get if I do this? And they should be asking, who will I become if I do this?
Slow motion this side.
Do you know what I mean, though?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because happiness is in what you become and not what you get.
No, because at the end of the day, that when you're looking in the mirror, that's
all you have.
That's all you have. You're just you, and you definitely have to look within yourself to find happiness. You can't. It's not going to be in a pair of shoes. It's not going to be in a purse. It's not going to be in a sword. You know, it's not going to be in a table. It's going to be in you.
Right.
You know, I mean,
you are actually the one that brings the potential of those things to bring happiness to you.
Exactly.
Because you're the reason that you drew that thing to you, because you wanted it. So the happiness had to come from your desire.
Oh,
it's not like everyone likes swords.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and also at the same time, if you think about it hard enough, like, is this stuff even real? Like, I think about it and I'm like, what if this is all an illusion and these are all just vibrating molecules and we're just imagining this stuff? What if that's not even real? So at the end of the day, all that really is real is you. Like, sometimes I'll imagine that the world just goes white and everything disappears, and in the end of it, it's just me standing there, you know, and it's like, it's so true.
Same thing with people's opinions. It's like, it doesn't matter, because what if they die tomorrow? They're not going to be around to give you their opinion anymore.
And also, everyone forgets
So
things.
Therefore, it doesn't matter what they believe.
No, it doesn't matter what anyone
Because if they weren't in your life to begin with, you would have never known what their effect would have been anyways. So for them to have had any effect on you, you would have had to have, I don't know, let it happen. But
don't take anything personally.
Yeah, don't take anything personally. And plus, if anyone has an opinion of you, it's like, well, then where were you when I made the first 500 mistakes? You know what I mean?
Or where were you when I was...
Like,
you only saw me when I got to the top of the mountain. You didn't see me climbing it.
How come you're not here to help me with all these other things I have to deal with?
No. And everybody tries to have an opinion, so...
Right. Okay, cool. Is there anything else you want to share or add?
Yeah, I think we've touched a lot of good stuff today.
Well, if you want to tell everyone how they can find you...
Well, you can always find me in person. No, just kidding. Don't come track me down. You can find me on Instagram at @themichellestone. I also have a website, themichellestone.com. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not really on Twitter. I honestly don't like social media. I barely like being on Instagram. But you can find me on Instagram at @themichellestone, and you can message me and talk to me. I'll talk back. I love to talk to anyone, and I'm always looking for new friends, new people to talk to, new people to collaborate with. I'm not someone that in any way thinks that her shit doesn't stink. I am always willing to make connections because I believe that that's what life is about, just building connections. So, yeah, really, you can only find me on Instagram, though. I mean, you can email me if you want. But...
Okay, cool. You're not a part of a band or anything right now. Like, you don't have music online.
No, I don't have any music online. I probably will be actually just starting a little small side band, a small side project, but that's still in the works and in the makings. But maybe if you find me in 6 months, I might have some stuff out there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Jordan.